Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, family from Goshen, Indiana. I am Magdiel Santiago, and today we are at the Goshen Theater. We are getting ready to get started for this conversation, debate between the two runners for the mayoral, to become the mayor to Goshen, Indiana. We have this event is brought to you. Thank you to the Goshen News and also the League of Women Voters. I am very excited to be part of this event and to witness this open public discussion. Um, Pretty soon here, the Goshen News editorial director, Shayla, will start with some announcements. And stay tuned. This will start at any moment now. Bienvenidos, damas y caballeros. Yo soy Miguel Santiago para las Crónicas de Goshen. El día de hoy estamos transmitiendo desde el Teatro de Goshen. El día de hoy se llevará a cabo un debate, una plática en el auditorio aquí de Goshen Theater entre los candidatos a la alcaldía de la ciudad de Goshen, Indiana. En unos momentos más estaremos comenzando, pero solamente queremos anunciarles que este evento es traído a ustedes gracias a The Goshen News y también a The League of Women Voters. También estaremos mostrando pronto el programa de cómo se llevará esto a cabo. Sheila, la directora editorial de The Goshen News, va a estar empezando esta conversación en cualquiera de estos momentos. Les agradecemos su paciencia en lo que estamos esperando que el auditorio se vaya acomodando. Les agradecemos su paciencia en lo que nos arrancamos. Mientras tanto, compartan ese video para que nuestra audiencia pueda estar conectada y nuestra audiencia pueda tomar parte de esta conversación. Esperamos que puedan mandar sus preguntas, sus comentarios y esperamos que este evento sea de mucha información para ustedes y también que sea de mucha ayuda para todas las personas que están y viven en la ciudad de Goshen, que tienen la habilidad de votar. Los invitamos a que no se pierdan esta conversación, este debate entre los dos candidatos a la alcaldía de la ciudad de Goshen, Indiana. Ladies and gentlemen, from Goshen, family, friends, we ask that you share our videos and that you send your questions or comments and you help us by sharing this information so that the people of Goshen stay informed and the people of Goshen get to know the two candidates to become the mayor of Goshen, Indiana. Please like our video and also send your comments if you have any or questions. And at any moment, we will be starting here. Once again, this event is at the Goshen Theater. The entrance is free. It's an open debate in the community. And this was brought thanks to the Goshen News and the League of Women Voters. I am Magdiel Santiago. This is the Goshen Chronicles. Again, share our videos. We'll be back soon.
Hello, everyone. I am Rose Goyette, co-president of the League of Women Voters of Elkhart County. We're a nonpartisan organization whose mission includes empowering voters, defending democracy. Tonight, we are involved in that mission by bringing you the 2023 Candidate Forum for Goshen in partnership with the Goshen News. Thank you to the Goshen News editorial board for their help in formulating the questions, along with the League, publisher Doug McAvoy, and managing editor Sheila Selman for their help in putting this together. This county chapter is the oldest league in the state. If you would like to know more about the history and help us in our mission, consider joining the league and helping us continue to serve local voters. You can find us at lwvec.org. We would also like to thank the Goshen Theater for providing the space to host the forum, their staff and volunteers who are assisting us tonight. Thanks also to students from the American Democracy Project and Political Science Club at IUSB for volunteering this evening. Thank you to my fellow league officers, board of directors, and members for their help in planning the forum and their help here tonight too. Also, thank you to the candidates for furthering our mission by sharing their views with the voting public. Now I'd like to introduce your moderator for the evening. Sheila Selman is managing editor of the Goshen News and Elkhart County Living magazine. She has been an award-winning journalist for more than 30 years. She and her husband live in the Waterford Mills area with their 2 dogs. They have 2 daughters. One is a student at Ball State, and the other owns the Awakening Room in Elkhart, and they have 2 grandchildren.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to what's going to be a spectacular night of politics, I hope, but not bad politics, because these people are going to, uh, they're here. They play fair. If you've ever been to city council meetings, that kind of thing, they're very talented and smart people, and I think you're really going to enjoy hearing from them this evening. First of all, a little bit of business to take care of. The Goshen Theater has graciously allowed us to be in this beautiful facility, and so they are going to be having a production coming up that we hope everyone will stop out for. Goshen Theater and Elkhart County Symphony Orchestra are going to be having Music Man in concert October 14th at 7 p.m. Tickets are $20 and $25. So just a plug for them, but I hope you all come out and see that. Moderators, talking points here, they're kind of boring, but we want to go over them. We ask that you silence your cell phones. If you haven't done that already, please silence them. And it's for courtesy to those attending in person and to adhere to our rules regarding recording of the forum. We are live streaming this. It will be made available later for anyone who wants to share that. So it is going to be in English and Spanish. We have 2 live streams going along with some other media. Recording is not permitted unless it's been permission's been given prior to authorization. So the candidates have each reviewed rules of fair play for this event, and that they will be answering questions that have been vetted by the Goshen News editorial board and by the League of Women Voters. Timers are going to be here in the audience, and they will visually indicate the amount of time a candidate has remaining. When that time limit is reached, candidates must conclude their answer as soon as possible. Both candidates' statements and responses will be timed. League members will keep time, and Doug McAvoy from the Goshen News. So you should be able to see, can everyone see the time cards? Okay. And when you get here, you should be able to see them more clear. Thank you. Candidates who are unopposed will, I don't know that we have any. So yeah, everyone will be up here with their counterpart. So only the candidate is permitted to answer questions during the forum. If a candidate who confirmed participation is unable to attend and communicated ahead of time, a representative may read the statement from that candidate, and I will be that representative for Linda Garber. But I will not be answering any questions on her behalf, just a statement. If a candidate shows up who has not confirmed participation, which I think we have everyone here, except for a couple of people who have said they will not make it. So then they would not be allowed to, they could participate, but they could not answer the questions, but that is not the case. Unopposed candidates, we talked about, can make an opening statement and answer questions. Speaking order will be determined by alphabetical order, using the last name of the candidates for that race. And then audience questions. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll give you an index card. You can write your question. It will then be collected by a league member, and they will review it, approve it, and then hand it to me, and I will answer that question or ask that question at the end of this session. So, all right, so those are the rules. And so welcome everyone. We are going to get started with the clerk treasurer's office. So if we can have Richard Aguirre and Zach Bontrager. All right, Richard Aguirre, you start everything, don't you? You start your first name or last name begins with an A. So All right. Why don't each of you give a statement about who you are? Just introduce yourself, and we'll start with Richard.
Good evening, and thanks for being here tonight. My name is Richard Aguirre. I'm a candidate for Clerk Treasurer, a position I've held for the last 2 years. The Clerk Treasurer is the city's chief fiscal and public records officer. And since taking the position, I've participated in extensive training, but I also arrived with the qualifications for that position so that I could effectively support police, fire service, good city streets, and a whole host of other city services. I was a volunteer for 15 years with city boards and commissions, so I came knowing already what was involved in the city and the key issues. I've managed budgets in the private sector as well as the nonprofit and government sectors. I've raised millions of dollars for the college. I have 20 years of supervisory experience, and I worked for many years as a journalist where I advanced the public need to be public watchdogs over government. If elected, my goals are to enhance fiscal accountability, increase revenues through investments, promote efficiencies, and improve access to city government. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Zach.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Zach Bontrager, and I'm running as Goshen's next clerk treasurer. I come to this job as the president of Goshen's Economic Development Commission, where I've served since 2019. I have a degree in accounting, and I grew up in the clerk treasurer's office. Like Richard said, the clerk treasurer's job is multifaceted. You are the fiscal head of the city, but you're also in charge of records, and you're in charge more than anything of coordination. I bring to the office a lifetime of service, and I want to increase the accountability, accessibility, and the culture of service in the office. Thank you.
All right. First question. The clerk's office is administrative rather than legislative. Should the clerk be appointed instead of elected? What are your feelings on it? Richard.
I don't think so. I think allowing the residents of the city to vote on clerk treasurer is important because it makes sure that someone who has such an important function is accountable to the public. And by what I mean is accountable is not only are you a person that is a bridge between the public and city departments, but you have a responsibility to make sure that government operates efficiently, that it operates with accountability to people, and that it does what it can do to try to increase public involvement in government. And in terms of efficiency, having that stamp of approval from voters means that you can act on your behalf. One of the things that I did as clerk treasurer is I helped negotiate a new banking services agreement with a local bank that's providing better services, no monthly fees, and substantial returns on the money that the city has in the bank. We just did a new calculation this afternoon, and at the current interest rates, the city of Goshen is getting approximately $4.7 million than our previous banking service agreement. The other thing that accountability does is it allows you to act on the public's behalf to try to save money. I hired a contractor with a company that was able to help us realize $32,000 a year in cell phone savings on our cell phone accounts. It also helps you look at different operations and imagine ways to improve them. One of the things we did is we streamlined the process for folks who are doing work in the city as mechanical or electric contractors. Those used to have to be approved by the Board of Works. I asked a simple question, why that had to be, why it couldn't be an administrative approval, which would save time and get people to work faster. That change was implemented, and it's meant that people could do work more efficiently for the city. I think some people might have the perception that this is a political position, but as you stated in the question, it's not. It's one that's responsible to voters. Thank you.
All right, Zach, do you need the question repeated, or are you
Could
good?
you please?
Sure. The clerk's office is administrative rather than legislative. Should the clerk be appointed instead of elected?
Thank you. I would agree with Richard that I don't think the clerk treasurer position should be appointed instead of elected, and for similar reasons. The accountability to the public that having an elected position is huge. It's not just another department head. It is an elected official. It is someone that the public put in there, and the public has the right to remove without having to remove the mayoral position necessarily. The clerk treasurer's office coordinates so much of the city, working with fire, working with police, working with streets and department heads, making sure everyone has what they need to work as effectively, as efficiently as possible. And the clerk treasurer's job is by necessity, by design, accountable to the public as well. And that's where accessibility is so huge. A member of the public that has an issue doesn't have to try to find someone that cares about them. They have an office right there that is accountable to them. They have an office that they elected, that they are a constituent of, not just one where they have to go and find the boss if something is wrong. And the accountability is so massive in that no, I don't believe it should be an appointed position. Thank you.
All right, question 2. Why are you running for this office, and what are your qualifications? And we'll start with Richard.
I want to continue the progress that I've started in the last 2 years. First, to make the office more efficient and to try to save money for taxpayers at a time when we are facing challenges in the city from growth, from increased expenses for police and fire. We have to create as many efficiencies as we can. I already talked about some of the things that I've done. There are other things that are in progress, including pretty much a complete overhaul of our pay and attendance system that'll be much more efficient and will save money for city departments. I think it's important to be as efficient as possible with the resources that we have. I also think it's important to maximize any investment opportunities, as I mentioned, that we did with our banking services. So there are some plans that I have to further work with the mayor and the council to try to create greater efficiencies. I would like to continue that work. I talked about some of the reasons I believe was prepared for this job, and just to restate it, I have substantial budget and expenditure experience, 20 years of supervisory experience in the private, nonprofit, and public sectors. So we have an office of 8 people. I think it's important to have someone who has managed an office before, who knows how to work with people, and who knows how to work with departments. Over the years, I've proven to be able to work with folks on both sides of the aisle in a very collaborative fashion. I think that's important at this time, especially in our country, in our state, in our county. I'd like to continue that work. I think the other thing that's very important is to try to use skills that you've developed to try to better inform the public. I write minutes for meetings that are probably the most encyclopedic the city of Goshen's ever had. The reason I do that is because I want people to understand what government does. It's my training as a journalist that I want to make sure people understand what government's doing, to hold it accountable, and to try to increase public engagement. I did that as a journalist. My goal is to continue to do that as clerk treasurer.
All right, thank you. Zach, would you like the question repeated, or are you good?
Thank you.
Okay.
So why I am running for clerk treasurer is to increase the accountability and the accessibility of the office. And I'll explain that. Accountability to take ultimate responsibility for every single tax dollar that is spent is the job of the clerk treasurer's office. In my accounting schools, they've taught me several times that you can't delegate responsibility. You can delegate your power and make someone responsible to you, but you can't delegate the ultimate responsibility. And that's something I'm ready to take on. Accessibility is huge to me. I want to remove every barrier possible between the people of Goshen and their city government. That means things like making the video streams much easier for people to find and watch, including after the meeting is done. When I go onto the city website today, I saw you have to go a month and a half back before you get the most recent minutes. For the recording, you have to go nearly 3 months back. With the prevalence of video on demand services today, I don't think that that is right. I think someone shouldn't have to wait several months to where they can go and see what they missed and find out exactly what was said at a meeting in the context that it was said. So increasing that accessibility, finding ways that people can view it as quickly as possible, and including things like captions so that people who are hard of hearing or who have other limitations can also make sure that their voice is heard, that people are representing them properly. Thank you.
All right. Question 3, and this is the final question for the clerk treasurer's candidates. How would you improve services for city residents concerning the clerk treasurer's office?
I think we described some of the ways, but the lead in that kind of task is taken by the mayor and the city council with critical support by the clerk treasurer. The clerk treasurer has to make sure that the city has the resources to do what departments need to do. That means keeping a very close watch over our expenditures, making sure that our budget estimates are accurate, and making sure that we're taking in everything that we should and spending every dollar wisely. That frees room for the services that we need. Um, At any given time, the city of Goshen has millions of dollars in the bank. A lot of that is already set aside for specific projects, but that money can work on behalf of the taxpayers. And again, one of the most significant achievements that we've been able to create in our office is a new banking service agreement that over the next year is expected to bring as much as 4.7 million more dollars into the city. That's the money that will go directly into providing more services for the public, for the citizens. We have an impressive amount of work going on in the city to improve our quality of life. That includes traffic improvements, increases in affordable housing, a new community swimming pool, better parks and trails, and a tree canopy that's going to expand on because of a $1 million grant that the city of Goshen just received. So I think the city is doing a lot. It's the clerk treasurer's job to make sure that we are spending that money wisely, as prudently as we can. And the other thing that I think is important is, and Zach's mentioned this, and it's something I've worked hard on, is try to improve and increase citizen involvement. Our meetings are already on Zoom, and they are available on Zoom. So that's already there. And so I think we're doing a really good job at that. What we need to do is fire the imagination of the people to let them know that they can have an impact on city government by attending meetings.
All right, and Zach?
Could you repeat the question once for me?
Sure, not a problem. How would you improve services for city residents?
All right. This is a great question. It's a very large question. Like Richard mentioned, a lot of the overarching services are come from the mayor's office and from your department heads. And the clerk treasurer's job is to support that more than it is to actually lead the charge. Inside the clerk treasurer's office specifically, I think that having a culture of service and being someone who cares so much about uh, customer service, public service, service leadership, I think I bring that quite well. And I want to make it so that anyone knows that they can contact the clerk treasurer's office and they can get either a resolution or they can get pointed in the right direction. I also want to increase the ability of people to find what's happening in the city and increase people's ability to view the meetings that are happening, view what's happened at the meetings, and uh, all of that. Make sure that people do know that their voice is being heard, do know who to talk to if it's not. And I want to make sure that in the clerk treasurer's office specifically, people know that their money is being spent as efficiently as possible so that we can continue to improve services, that we're not having to cut the things that we appreciate. We're not having to talk about, well, we need to cut these services that are so important to people's lives and make up the quality of life here in Goshen. And because we have budget shortfalls because we're not being efficient. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Gentlemen, you are free to go back to your seats. Uh, All right, you will see a name on the next slide. That is the lone person who is running for judge. His name is Richard Mill. So he is not here. And so the next candidates we will have up, if you can sit in the order of apparently what is how you're sitting here. So it would be Erica Emanuel, Linda Gerber, who is not here. I have a statement from her. Sandra Rodriguez McMasters, and Brett Weddle. I think you're down there, yeah. Yeah, you're good. In the second or third, does that help? To know who's who? Who's who? All right, welcome. So these are candidates for Common Council at Large. Erica is a Republican. Linda is a Democrat, Sandra is a Democrat, and Brett is a Republican. So each of them will get a chance to make a 1-minute statement, and we will start with Erica.
Hi, I'm Erica Emanuel. I am currently an accountant at a company called ViewRail. I'm the controller there. I'm a CPA. I am born and raised in Goshen. I went through Goshen Community Schools, Goshen High School, and then I made the choice to go to Goshen College. I've made Goshen my home, and I'm here tonight to tell you why I love Goshen.
All right, thank you. I'm going to read Linda's statement. So if you want to give me a time, all right, thank you. All right, thank you to the Goshen News and League of Women Voters for hosting this forum, and to the audience in the House this evening. I regret not being able to join you, but I have COVID, and following my doctor's instructions and avoiding in-person contact. I am running for an at-large seat on the Goshen City Council. I am married to Michael Stellingwerf, and we have lived on South Main Street near Kircher for the past 12 years. I am inspired and heartened by our community's commitment to creating a safe and welcoming environment for families and businesses to grow and thrive, and for people's willingness to tackle challenges with open minds in order to make progress together. I also love walking and biking on our various trails throughout the city, and am grateful to have those physical connections to our city. I am running for the Goshen City Council because I have always been interested in our local government and the way decisions are made. Through my career, I've participated in making complicated decisions that have helped me appreciate the importance of listening to opposing viewpoints and working together to reach solutions and common ground, even when there are serious disagreements. I want to put those same skills and experiences to work for Goshen. I've had the great opportunity to live and work in Goshen my entire career, and I want to be able to contribute to our community's future by serving as a council person. For the past 25 years, I have worked here in Goshen at the Fourth Freedom Forum, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to finding cooperative solutions to international conflicts. For the past 15 years, I have been the Chief Operating Officer. I am responsible for annual budgeting and financial management, administering the board of directors, organizing conferences and events, directing human resources, and managing the publication of books, articles, reports, and websites. In short, the buck stops with me, and I am proudly responsible for the efficient operations of the organization. My priority as a new council person will be to work hard for the city of Goshen and collaborate with other members of the council to address the business at hand and prepare our community for the future. Some top of mind issues for me are developing additional affordable housing, planting additional trees to achieve 45% urban tree canopy coverage by 2045, supporting businesses and on and off Main Street that demonstrate a commitment to employees and the community, and improving the flow of traffic and developing more trails to connect our neighborhoods with downtown to encourage more walking and bicycling for recreation, transportation, and community building. I am eager and prepared to go to work for our community. If elected, I will do my best to serve our city with transparency, an open mind, and integrity. My literature is available on the table and on my website, and I encourage you to reach out to me if you have any questions or wish to follow up with me directly. My door is open. That is it. All right. And you need. Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, sorry. Apparently they're having some trouble hearing you. So move the mics closer to you. I'm told like this, close to your mouth. So, all right. Sandra, your turn. 1 minute on yourself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sandra Rodriguez McMasters. I lived in Goshen for 25 years. I'm married to Matt McMasters, and together we have 2 children who graduated from Goshen Community Schools. I worked in the assembly line for several years while I was raising my kids and learning the educational system. I got involved with the neighborhood association, and with this work, I was appointed commissioner of the Community Relations Commission. All this community work led me and challenged me to get my education. So in 2015, I went back to college, and in 2019, I got my bachelor's in social work. Just last year, I got my master's from Loyola University and as well, master's in social work. I think I've gained the skills, the tools needed to run for city council at large, and I'm running alongside with Linda Gerber. We are running this campaign together from the beginning because we want to send a message.
All right, thank you. And then Brett.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Brett Weddle. I've been born and raised here in Goshen. I attended Waterford Elementary School, Towncrest Junior High, and Goshen High School, the exact same schools that my father and my 2 boys have attended. My oldest son, Layton, is a freshman in college this year. My youngest son, Merrill, is a senior at the high school. I married my high school sweetheart, Robin. She also graduated from Goshen, grew up in Goshen. We've been married for 25 years this year. I attended Indiana University School of Optometry, where I received my doctorate, and I co-own Wellington and Weddle Eye Care, a downtown business that was started downtown in 1926. So that was downtown before it was cool to be downtown. Prior to serving on city council, I attended nearly every single city council meeting for 2 years, and now I've been finishing up my 11th year on city council. Prior to that, I was on the Elkhart County Redevelopment Commission, and for approximately 9 years, I think, the Goshen City Redevelopment Commission and the Mayor's Traffic Commission. And those are the qualifications that I have that will make me best suited to continue on if I'm elected this November. Thank you.
All right, well, let's start in with the questions. Now, I'm going to ask you 3. We have several of them that people on our board have put together. So the questions that I might ask here might be different than the ones that I ask for the rest of the council. So we're just going to mix it up a little bit so that not everyone is hearing the same thing over and over again. So, all right, here we go. And this will be for Erica. Describe what unity looks like for the Goshen City Council. Does unity require compromise, leadership, or both?
That's a great question. For me, unity looks like a team working together. There's a saying out there that nobody wins with compromise, but we're here to serve the community of Goshen. We're not here to serve our own interests, and sometimes compromise is what it's going to take to get us there. I think it's possible. I don't think that once you are elected that your party is what's important. It's your service to your community and doing what's right for your constituents.
All right. And Sandra, do you need the question repeated?
Yes, please.
All right. Describe what unity looks like for the Goshen City Council. Does unity require compromise, leadership, or both?
I think when I was presenting myself, I mentioned that Linda and I are running together. We're united from the beginning, and we unite with the community. One of the skills I have is to bring people together across cultures. So this is very important for us, and it's important to create the spaces that are public and safe for everyone here in the city. So the leadership and the message that we're sending is that we can work together across cultures, across any barriers that we might encounter.
Thank you. And Brett, would you like the question repeated? All right. Describe what unity looks like for the Goshen City Council. Does unity require compromise, leadership, or both?
Sure. Unity does not always mean you agree. Unity means that you have the best interests of Goshen at hand. And it takes leadership to put that discussion ahead, but it also takes compromise. I've gone into a lot of city council meetings over the years with some mindset of what I think should happen, and through the spirited discussion, both with the audience that shows up and also with our fellow council members, your perspective changes. And that's what's important. You need that leadership to bring those discussions forward, but willing to readjust and reevaluate where you're standing on that. One thing that really concerns me so far that something's been said, we've heard a candidate tonight say, we're together. We're doing this together. Unity. Does that mean the rest of us don't count? That's a little frightening. I'm here running for city council to represent all of Goshen, and I'm willing to do that with 6 other members on city council. I don't care who they are. As long as you have the best interests in Goshen, I don't need to say that I'm running with one person specifically. And so that's something that I think we all need to think about. I've worked with Mayor Stutzman hand in hand, both when he was on city council and I was, and also as he was mayor. When there was something difficult that had to be addressed with Goshen, he called me and we had a conversation, and then we went to our respective caucuses and worked things out. Does that mean we agree 100%? No, but we do agree 100% on the good of Goshen. And so I'm willing to bring that leadership that I've demonstrated now for 11 years, and also with my responsibilities with the Redevelopment Commission, to continue that on, because come January, we have a new mayor, whether that's Mayor Lichty, whether that's Ben Rogers. It's a new mayor. And I've demonstrated, and I will continue to demonstrate, a willingness to work with whoever that is to make sure that Goshen is in a position to succeed as we have throughout the last decades. Thank you.
All right, question 2. And we'll start with Erica. All right. In the face of escalating housing costs, what can the city do to ensure that our community remains inclusive and affordable for all residents, particularly for low-income residents and individuals?
So the housing issue, when I look at it from an economic standpoint. We have supply and demand. Right now, we don't have the supply that we need in the right markets, but we have a high demand. The way I look at it is, while we are building housing that might not seem affordable to everyone, affordable is dependent on who you are. And when that option happens, you have people who can move up in housing and have, when they vacate their previous place, it leaves options for those who are looking to move up, and the market shuffles. Also, when you flood the market with supply, the pricing is going to go down. I think tackling it solely from, is it affordable, and you've got to be realistic. We got to want people to come here and want people to build here, and you got to realize that as new things come in, people are going to shift where they live, and they're going to open up other places. That shift is naturally going to allow for ability and availability for those in lower income. I don't think that as we continue to build the places and allow new builders to come in and expand our market, it will open up doors for those who are lower income, and it will be able to remain inclusive in our community.
All right, thank you. Sandra, would you like the question repeated?
Sure.
In the face of escalating housing costs, what can the city do to ensure that our community remains inclusive and affordable for all residents, particularly for low-income residents and individuals?
So I mentioned that my background was working in the assembly line. So for several years, I've heard many stories for people that might be paying very high rates on rent. However, those houses, they were not upkept. So yes, there's a high demand of housing. We need to make sure that we're building those houses needed, but in a way that is responsible and is also protecting our green areas and protecting our environment. We need to make sure that everyone can have access to new housing, and also making sure that we can make a living, raise our families here in a safe way, in a responsible way.
Is this on? There we go. All right, Brett, did you need the question repeated?
Sure. Thank you.
Just tell me no if you don't,
That's
Sarah.
okay.
I won't be
It's fine.
offended.
It's fine.
All right. In the face of escalating housing costs, what can the city do to ensure that our community remains inclusive and affordable for all residents, particularly for low-income residents and individuals?
Thank you. So one thing I didn't get a chance to mention earlier is that I've been serving on the La Casa Board of Directors for probably the last 5 years, the last year and a half as the board chair. And I think La Casa is an excellent example of providing affordable, top rate housing for our community. And I've taken that experience to the city council, and more importantly, to my responsibility on the Redevelopment Commission. In the last number of years, we've brought numerous housing developments, apartment complexes to the city of Goshen. And all of those originated in a redevelopment commission. If it wasn't for the work of that redevelopment commission and the city staff there, none of this would have even been brought to the city council to even take a vote on. Just a few examples: the Hawks building, the Mill Race co-housing. We've got the shadow, no, apologize, the two buildings on Lincoln Avenue, Park 33, Cloverleaf, which is out by the new junior high school, and most recently Cherry Creek, which is going to bring well over 1,000 housing units to the south side of Goshen. Those are all examples of every possible type of housing: apartments, owner occupied, low income, working force, and also market rate. I was a member of the feasibility committee for the Goshen Community Schools, and we had a demographer from Ball State came, and we had another one that did a joint work with the city and the school again most recently. And they said, actually, what we need is more next level housing. I think Erica mentioned that. Retirement housing. That way, you can have people transition. My wife and I already have transitioned out of our large home on South Kircher Road into a condo in a retirement community. Not that I'm retired, I'd love to be, but I'm not. But that opened up my house for a family with 3 or 4 children to move into that wanted to be in Goshen. And so it's that being able to continue that transition from one home to the next as you age in your life that opens up that next level. Both those demographers said we have more than enough capacity for affordable housing. Now, we can all have an argument on what affordable is, and I'd say it is more challenging nowadays. I could go on, but thank you.
All right. Okay, and then starting with Erica, Goshen has a diverse population. How do we serve that diversity so everyone feels welcome? How would you support and encourage this?
As on city council, you got to remember what our abilities are, and our abilities are to reach out and encourage the community to engage in things that will bring our diverse populations in. For example, our First Fridays, the council, the city works with the organizers to have those events. The Hispanic Heritage Festival that happened last weekend, again, the city worked with the organizers to have those events. So we as a city need to really take care in our CRC committee and make sure that we are reaching out and connecting with the community and making sure we're meeting the needs and helping where we can, getting permits, making places available, and when the funds are there, offering resources for those events to happen and to make sure that people have access to information so they feel involved in the community.
All right, thank you. Sandra? Would you like the question repeated?
Sure, please.
Goshen has a diverse population. How do we serve that diversity so everyone feels welcome? How would you support and encourage this?
Well, the diversity must start with diversifying the council. We have Julia King, who was the first woman ever elected in the council in Goshen, and she's not running to be reelected. Gilberto Perez was the first Latino council person elected in the council. And now, because we have more than 56% in the Goshen school body, I think representation is very important. And even though we don't want to say that there is a group, there is a minority, that's the reality. And it's important that we are represented and we are also well represented. Yes, this job could be challenging for a lot of us that are running for the first time, but the willingness to learn what it takes, the hours that must be invested to do what is right for everyone. So I think we can work together and keep the diversity in the council so we can represent the people that lives here.
All right. And I do think we have a correction on Julia. So
Pratt, Dixie Robinson, and I believe Marcia Myers were at least 3 women that were on city council before.
yeah,
That's all.
I recall some women
Oh, no, not at
earlier.
large.
So,
I said at large.
all right. Sorry.
Sorry.
Okay. Brett, would you like the question repeated?
Diversity and how do we welcome and
Yep. That's it.
Perfect, thank you.
All right.
So one of the things that we just talked about at the last budget meeting on Monday night was the new Mayor Lichty's idea of the revamped CRC. She's hired now 2 individuals that are going to go out into the community and interact with our neighborhoods and all of the individuals and bring everybody together. And that's what it's all about, is talking to your neighbor. And I think we've been missing that. I think La Casa did a lot of good work in the past in bringing some neighborhood associations together. We just need to take that next step. And with the reinvented concept that Mayor Lichty's put forth with the CRC, that's the best gateway into keeping our diverse and unique community working together. One of the things that Mayor Stutzman had always said when he was up, at the podium, when someone would come up with a grievance, well, have you spoken with your neighbor yet? Silence. And it's all about speaking to one another. So one thing that I think that we can also improve with our city website and our city, we do this with our mailers, but making sure things are available bilingually. Now, there's obviously a wide variety of other languages that are spoken in our community, but let's be honest, it's mainly English and Hispanic. And so I think making sure as much of our literature, as much of our website can be available for that would be the best. It was mentioned the Hispanic Heritage Festival this past weekend. Huge success. There's some growing pains. We had a concerned resident that came to the meeting and had some concerns. And I think, again, Mayor Lichty addressed that very well. We need to sit down with that community and say, hey, these are the amazing successes that you've had. These are the growing pains. Let's work together. Let's make this even better next year so that we can tackle those issues together. And it's all about being together. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And that will do it for the at-large. And then next we will have the first district. All right, we have Matt Fisher, he is a Democrat, and Don Riegsecker, he is a Republican. Each of you get 1 minute to introduce yourselves, and we will start with Matt.
Thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Matt Fisher. My wife Amy and I have lived in Goshen for about almost 30 years. We've raised our 3 kids here. They've gone to school in Goshen. Amy teaches in Goshen. She taught at Chandler for many years and now is at Prairie View. I've always worked in Goshen. I work at Everence on the north side of town. And throughout my kids' growing up years, I've been involved in their activities, whether it was helping them coach, being a member of the orchestra boosters, or on the swimming board. So as I've been involved in those things, I see city council as a good extension, another way as my kids move out of school locally that I can be involved in the community and listen to residents in the district and around the city and help issues they have and just continue to serve the city in that way.
Thank you. And Don.
Good evening. I'm running to continue my contribution to Goshen City Council. I have lived in Goshen most of my 67 years and watched the population grow from 13,000 to around 34,000 today. I went through the Goshen Community School System, then on to Calvin College for my pre-engineering degree, and concluded at Purdue University with a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering with a construction major. After graduation, I moved to Houston, Texas to utilize my engineering degree constructing water treatment and wastewater treatment plants. From there, I consulted with a company that completed public works projects when the contractors defaulted. Eventually, I started my own general contracting company in metal buildings, single-family homes, along with commercial and residential remodeling. A career change was in order, so I went to work for Edward Jones and Goshen Community Bank as an investment advisor. For my last career position, I am currently employed with Lippert, where my goal is to complete my remaining career managing the technical publications team and with maintaining the document control on the customer service website. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, you're ready for the first question. As traffic congestion continues to impact our community's quality of life, what transportation solutions do you propose to alleviate this issue? And we'll start with Matt.
One thing I think of when I think about traffic is something that's been mentioned already is making Goshen more accessible to walking and biking for people that want to come, especially to the downtown area. I live obviously on the west side of town in District 1, and there are good sidewalks that we can walk if we need to or ride bike if we want along Lincoln Avenue. But I think there could be more of that throughout the city. The Cherry Creek development that's going in, there's talk of connecting that through trails all the way to downtown. So I think that's a great example of how we can get people that choose to live there around town without having to take vehicles. I also have heard there's some state has some things they're working on with different projects. So the city needs to work with the state as the state does their work and figure out how we best can work together to resolve traffic issues around town.
All right, thank you. Don, would you like a repeat of the question?
Please.
All right. As traffic congestion continues to impact our community's quality of life, what transportation solutions do you propose to alleviate this issue?
Traffic has been a problem in Goshen for a long time. We try and alleviate it, and we bring in contractors, we build new roads, and we build some overpasses. So we just have to keep looking at that. Matt had a good idea, bike paths, that's good for everybody in town. We have approximately, I don't know, tens of thousands of commuters that come into town to work here every day. So that doesn't work as well for them, and it's good for the local people. So we need to look at the highways coming in from Elkhart and coming from the other side of town too, from Ligonier. I believe that, and I look at it sometimes when I'm driving, because to find ways to make it quicker. That's not a good solution in the long run. And we just need to keep continuing to work with the state and trying to get these things handled. Thank you.
All right, question 2. What are some suggestions to improve public access to parks and nature resources? Matt.
Goshen has a lot of nice parks. I'm a runner, so I am all over town in the early morning and often find my way through a park on the mill race. I think one of the ways to make those accessible again is for people in the city is the bike paths, so they can walk or bike to get to the parks. But there are a lot of nice parks throughout the town that aren't in neighborhoods. For example, in the East Lincoln area, there's Dykstra Park and Abshire, and then of course Abshire connects to the Pumpkin Vine, which is a phenomenal resource for this area. And I know the city doesn't maintain that, but it's well maintained through volunteers. And then on the other side, kind of the northwest side of town, there's the trail that goes to Elkhart. So there's some access there to Oxbow Park and some other areas on the northwest side of town. I think we can continue to develop parks that are there already. Like Pringle Park, for example, we live near there, and they put a splash pad in recently, and there's lots of kids there in the summer enjoying that and having a great time there. There's a splash pad in a park back to District 3 again, near Everence and Chamberlain School. They have a splash pad there. Often on the way home from work, I'll see kids playing on a hot summer afternoon. So there's other parks in town that I think we could do. Maybe there would be some, splash pads or other improvements to those parks that would benefit the neighborhoods that they're located.
All right, thank you. Don, would you like the question repeated?
Please.
What are some suggestions to improve public access to parks and nature resources?
That's a good question. We have an excellent park department that maintains these parks, and they should be used. So we need to get the people there. We have great bike paths also to get people there. So we need to get the word out. And I think we do a good job at First Fridays of advertising our parks. And I know we have tents uptown for those events. So maybe we just need to get the word out for some people to be aware of where our parks are and direct them to the website so that they can get a good location too. Parks is one of those things that every community has, and we have some excellent ones that kind of spread out. And I've only found them once I started using the bike paths, because you can find a lot of them along the bike paths, and you can stop. And we have places where you can use the restroom, and you can rest and relax. So the Pumpkin Vine is also a good place to venture out and see what's in town. Thank you.
All right, third question. This is the final one for District 1. Who would you partner with in the community to address problems like homelessness? And we'll start with Matt.
Goshen has resources already that would deal with people that are unhoused. For example, in the past, I volunteered with Goshen Interfaith. It's now called I think it's Lighthouse. So years ago, they used to have a model where they would go from church to church. The people would stay at those churches, and then we would provide a meal as a congregation. We would be with the guests in the evening, and then they would move on to another church the next week. So partnering with a group like that, Lighthouse Mission, would allow the city to involve them and use their resources and their knowledge and their connections that they have to other organizations to be able to help people that need a place to stay, whether it's short term, situational, or maybe it's a longer term and they can work, with La Casa, for example, or Habitat does some things with people so that they can get into a house or get into an apartment, something, then they can have a house and not have to be sleeping on the street.
All right, Don, would you like the question repeated?
Please.
Who would you partner with in the community to address problems like homelessness?
Right now, Goshen has a excellent resource with Officer James Ballard. He is the resource officer that goes out and interacts with these homeless, and he knows where all the resources are in our location and other locations close to us. So we've tried to do some things at City Council to help alleviate some of his concerns so that he can do his job just a little bit better. And he is the best source, I think, that we have to get people directed to the right place. Homelessness is getting to be a national problem, lots of communities. So we are going to be seeing probably some more around if we're not careful. So we need to be thinking about what we can do with them as we go down the road too. And I think that's something that City Council and the mayor will need to look at. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And that should do it for District 1. All right, second district is up. Rachel Mercado and Doug. Doug, do you say your name Nisley or Nisley? Nisley. All right, Nisley. Oh, okay. All right. That's right. She was one. So you can go ahead and make a statement about yourself and
Okay.
yeah.
I'm Doug Nisley, currently the second district councilman on the second district. I was born in Goshen, raised in Goshen, have two adult sons that went to Goshen High School too. I'm a business owner. I have been in the golf industry for about 35 years. I am owner of a company that leases golf courses, and then we run the one down in New Paris. Before I was elected for the city council, I served on the Elkhart Township Trustee Board and on the Goshen City Board of Zone Appeals.
I am going to ask you a question. So growth has both opportunities and challenges. If elected or re-elected in your case to the city council, address the opportunities and challenges of Goshen's growth.
Our growth that we've had, we're looking for places to grow. I mean, we have moved out to the south end of town now with the Cherry Creek subdivision that's going out there. And I know that we have looked up north for maybe industry, but it's a problem that we have in Goshen because of the way Goshen is built, the boundaries, without taking any more land from people. So we will have a challenge to make that growth happen. I know there's a few things working on the west side that we're looking at. So to make that growth happen, we're probably going to have to acquire or bring in other properties.
All right, and then can you describe what unity looks like for the Goshen City Council? Does it require compromise, leadership, or both?
It does both. And I can say with Council President Weddle, there's been times that him and I have disagreed on things before the meeting and ended up sitting down talking or at the meeting listening to people and that has brought us together to pass an ordinance or a resolution. It takes both.
All right, and last question for you. As traffic congestion continues to impact our community's quality of life, what transportation solutions do you propose to alleviate this issue?
Well, I think there again, and people's already went through the bicycle in the paths, bicycle paths. We have to maintain that, keep up with that. In my district, we had, and we still have probably one of the worst traffic areas around the two new schools and model school. And I have sat down with the school superintendents and we have got some things worked out there for model school. It seems that has relieved some of that, but the intermediate school is still the traffic out there in the time. So that's just things that we're going to have to work out.
All right, well, that is it for you.
Thank
you so
you.
much. All right, we're going to take a 10-minute break. I know it says 15, but I'm only giving you 10 just to keep us on track. So if you want to get a drink, there's some drinks out in the foyer, I believe. We have drinks up here for you as well. So, all right, 10 minutes.
Mr. Aguirre, very nice meeting you.
Very good to meet you.
Excellent
Really?
presentation.
Oh, really haven't had a chance to meet
I
you,
know.
connect with you.
I gotta have you in the studio.
Oh, I'd like to do that.
I would love to interview you.
I'd like to do that.
You're
That'd be
so
cool.
articulate. I love
Oh,
how
thank you.
Thank you so much. Greetings, Goshen family, members from the community. Today we are here at the Goshen Theater. It is an amazing event. We had the opportunity to listen to the candidates of the different political positions, councils at large, District 1, District 2. We've been able to listen to them. Pretty soon we'll be listening to the rest of our candidates from the different parties in this case. And it has been a very educative activity for me. This is the very first time that, believe it or not, I'm here in the Goshen Theater with members of the community. Some of the questions that Shayla Bauman from the Goshen News started asking came from the community. Each candidate has some time to answer these questions. And this is what democracy looks like. We have to be engaged. We have to stay in touch with what's happening at the local level. Today, we have the opportunity to do that. And I encourage you, we have a second part. We're going to be, right now, what's happening is we're having a break. In about 10 minutes, we'll be back live streaming live. And you'll have the opportunity to listen to the rest of this I'm going to say political conversation, where candidates have the opportunity to present themselves and where candidates have the opportunity to tell the community members here present in Goshen Theater what they think, the different questions, how they asked, and how they answer those questions. And it's a very exciting opportunity to be here. Please don't forget to share our videos. I believe it's very important that we stay together. I think if I can highlight something today, I think that the questions that are coming to these candidates is how can we look for a unity? And given the current environment, the current political environment in our country, I think that our community needs to really look into that and focus into being together, into having conversations. And I think there's a great opportunity to do that by means of this, participating in these events. And if you didn't have the chance to come, or you won't be able to come for the rest of this debate, public discussion, please share our videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us here on YouTube and Facebook and all the social media, because we are the Goshen Chronicles. We are a minority-based media production company that wants to unite our community. And so you're going to be helping us. And you're going to be really doing everybody a favor here if you share our videos, and if you like the button click the like button and help us get more public audience here. And we're gonna be interviewing Shayla from the Goshen News. Once again, this event is brought to you thank you to the Goshen News and also the League of Women Voters. We're gonna have a few words with Shayla, and here she is. How are you? Very good to see you. Come, give me a hug. So tell us how this has been going so far.
So far, so good. Yeah.
Attendance is great, right?
Attendance is actually better than what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
amazing.
I'm very happy.
Very good. I think this is a very good event to bring unity and just have the conversation. I think that was a great idea.
Yeah, I agree. I said it's not too often you can get all the politicians in the room and people who want to be serving their community and get them to talk just openly about issues. And this is a great forum for that. So I'm really hoping people are watching online.
Yes, and I was just mentioning to our audience that given the current condition in the political environment across the nation, I think this is very important that communities come together and kind of get together and discuss and get to know their candidates because a lot of people don't get involved into politics.
Right. Well, city politics is known as like the lowest voter turnout that we have. So it's really important that people get out and vote because these people do like affect your taxes and that kind of thing. So um, I know it's not the big sexy political thing that is coming up with the presidential election, but it's still really important. So I hope people get out and vote this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think that getting to know the candidates for either consuls at large, and mayors, I think is a very first step. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's a good starting point for someone who wants to get started politically. So, serving your city by being on the city council is fantastic. And you're never, you can be 18 and older and serve that way. So there isn't like a big age, limit or anything on it. So,
Well, thank you so much to the Goshen News and also to the League of Women Voters.
yes, League
That
of Women Voters helped us really put all this together. So,
excellent. Thank you so much, Shayla.
Thank you.
Looking forward to the next part.
yeah, thank
This
you.
is getting good.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Shayla, I know her with a different last name. I'm gonna have to ask her, but she is the editorial director of the Goshen News. And if you didn't know, let me tell you the news. The Goshen News and the Goshen Chronicles, we are partnering to bring you content, digital content, and also make sure that our communities get together and the language barrier is broken and we can just come together as one big family and have discussion and open discussions of what is happening in our community. Today we had good conversations. I invite you to share this video if you don't have time to watch it all right now. I will invite you to watch it later on today. I think that you will find value into the opinions and the expressions of each of the candidates that they made their opinions public. And so today the theater is we had great attendance. People came to watch this public discussion, and we're having a blast. Thank you, Sahib Ramirez, behind the cameras, for making all this possible. He's our producer, and thank you to all of you who are following us. We're getting closer to 2,000 followers, so please help us sharing by sharing our videos and clicking the like button. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, TikTok, Instagram, you name it, we have them all. Follow us, and in a brief moment, we'll be back broadcasting live. So just stay tuned. I am Miguel Santiago. This is the Goshen Chronicles. See you in a bit.
How many fingers? Yeah, you're good. My dad only called me twice during this thing. So.
All right, is this on? All right, let's end our 10-minute break here. All right, we're all good? Everyone's back? All right. Our mayoral candidates are next, and we have Gina Lichty, who is the Democrat, and she is the interim mayor at this point, and Benjamin Rogers, a Republican, and he, yeah, he's kind of new to the political field, aren't you? All right. So, okay, so we're going to have 1 minute to talk about each of you, and then we'll get into the questions. So we'll start with Gina, and then go to Ben.
All right, thanks again to the Goshen Theater and to the League of Women Voters for hosting us tonight, and for all of you for attending. My name is Mayor Gina Lichty, and I am the 33rd mayor of Goshen and the first woman to hold that office in its 192-year history. It's a tremendous honor to serve as the mayor of Goshen, and I've lived in Goshen about 30 years. I was born abroad in Bolivia. I grew up in Rensselaer, Indiana, about a couple hours west of here, but I've served most of my career in Goshen in a number of industries. I've had the privilege of working in social service. I worked for about 10 years in manufacturing, and then I was a small business owner. And all of those variety of things have led to equipping me to step into the mayoral office and the variety, and there is a large variety of tasks that are required of any mayor. So thanks again for being here, and I'm happy to be your mayor.
All right, Ben.
Good evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, the Goshen News, Goshen Theater, the Goshen Chronicles, and everyone else who is participating in this forum tonight. My name is Benjamin Rogers, and I am running for mayor of my hometown. These are words that are an honor to be able to say to you here tonight. You know, we live in a wonderful country and we live in an amazing city. In fact, I can be sitting here today as the nominee for a legitimate political party, running for mayor of the city I grew up in, speaks to the strength of our democratic republic and to the openness and opportunities offered by our city. You know, in politics, it can be easy to get distracted, but let's be clear. Our goal here tonight is to talk about the issues, it's to talk about the people, to talk about our community and how we can grow that community, and it's about the voters. It's about those that we serve as servant leaders, and it's up to the voters who their next chief executive will be this November. Thank you. I look forward to answering questions and participating here tonight. Thank you.
All right, first question. We'll go to Benjamin. So describe what success looks like for the mayor of Goshen. What data should residents use to measure your effectiveness if elected?
Well, I think you have to look at multiple different angles when you're looking at any position that's elected, like the mayor's position is. I think openness is a big part of that. I think being attentive to what the voters are looking to have tackled, but also you have to look at the issues that we're facing every day, whether it be traffic, whether it's development coming to our city, whether it's things as simple as what our streets and what our sidewalks look like. There are a multitude of things that you can look at to gauge how your chief executive is doing in the office. And quite honestly, I believe that if you look at how our city has been run, I think there are a lot of things that we can all agree, regardless of our political stripe, that have been amazing. At the same time, that gives us a fantastic platform to go to the next step. My goal as a candidate for this office is to not just come in and be elected, collect a paycheck, cut some ribbons, and go home. Is to look at every aspect of how the city operates, to look at every aspect under mayoral control, and ensure that every aspect of that is dedicated to serving the people foremost in all aspects.
All right, Gina, would you like the question repeated?
That'd be awesome.
All right. Describe what success looks like for the mayor of Goshen. What data should residents use to measure your effectiveness if elected?
So there are a number of things that people consider when looking at the success of a mayor or of a city. At the top of that list is talent attraction and retention. Is your city growing or is it declining? And Goshen has been very successful in attracting and retaining talent at multiple levels. And that's certainly one of the initiatives that I want to make sure that we're supporting, and that's attracting full generations of talent into our community. So whether it's young families choosing to live here and raise families here, or it's young professionals that are wanting to have a successful career here, or elders that are wanting to retire here. One of my biggest personal achievements is getting my parents to move here after living far away for 50 years. So, but on a broader scale, as people are considering the data, you referenced data, there are some actual numbers that we can use. And of course, population growth is one of them, whether or not we're retaining our students who graduate here. And then, of course, we're looking at the net assessed value of our community. Are we making the type of quality of place investments that really make people want to invest in their neighborhoods, their communities, their schools? Are we building a sense of pride here? So we can look at our property values increasing along with keeping and growing our population. Those are some basic data points that we use and that I would certainly welcome as a consideration as people evaluate our success as an administration.
All right, thank you. Question 2 goes to Gina first. What do you see as the greatest challenge facing the city, and how will you meet it?
One,
the top one.
Well, there are certainly numerous challenges that we're facing, and even in my first 100 days, There were things that we had to launch in and address right away, and some of them have been talked about already tonight. And of course, that's housing and making sure that we have available housing stock for everybody at multiple levels in our community. I think my very first council meeting was a decision about whether or not to leverage some city funds in order to invite a developer to make a significant investment. And we worked with the council, and we were able to pass that initiative and make sure that that development is going to be happening, and they will be breaking ground here pretty soon. So as we're looking at, again, back to the talent attraction and retention, making sure that the 20,000 people who are commuting here every day have a place to live. We did a feasibility study recently that identified a need for 5,000 additional houses. And as you heard already, Goshen has some geographic issues that make development in our community a bit of a challenge. So those are some things that we're paying attention to, and will certainly be a priority throughout the remainder of my administration.
All right, Ben, would you like the question reread?
Yes, please.
All right. What do you see as the greatest challenge facing the city, and how will you meet it?
You know, there's in any role where you're the chief executive of any municipality or any business, there's always a multifaceted whole line of issues. And it's difficult to point to just one, but I would probably, if I had to, would point to accessibility of development. And in my conversations with developers, my conversations with business owners, my conversations with engineers, one of the things that continues to come up is how difficult it can be to work and construct inside of the city of Goshen. This increases housing costs, and this directly feeds into the housing affordability issue. And it's interesting, kind of jumping to that housing affordability issue, is that I actually had an individual reach out to me that was a senior citizen, and they basically told their life story about how they really want to stay inside of the city of Goshen. However, the housing situation has made it so that they're having to look at moving elsewhere. The housing situation, the housing crunch that we're looking at, the development crunch that we're looking at is affecting both our young professionals entering the workforce and our seniors the most, and then with everyone else kind of crunched down in the middle. That's probably the greatest issue that we're facing currently, but I would argue that it's not just a housing issue, it is also a development issue that goes beyond that all the way into the business friendliness issue that's underlining it. Thank you.
All right, thanks. And then, so I think then we start with you again. So does working with public education, specifically Goshen School Corporation, fit into your vision for improving the quality of life for Goshen residents?
100%. You know, the health of a school system, the health of education in the community is vital to the vibrancy of a community. And, you know, the Goshen Community School System is a major part of that. And obviously there are other school systems that are kind of surrounding the area as well. And I think one of the greatest things about the relationship between the city of Goshen administrationally and the school board is a good collaborative effort in regards to the building projects, in regards to meetings held together. That communication has to continue because, and I would argue that that would go beyond even education itself. You just need communication across the board. You can't put people into bubbles. You have to be able to break through those bubbles. And yes, working with the community school system is vital in ensuring that that continues.
All right, thank you. And Gina, would you like the question reread?
Yes, please.
Does working with public education, specifically Goshen School Corporation, fit into your vision for improving the quality of life for Goshen residents?
There's no greater investment than we can make as a community than in our kids. And that affects every aspect of our administration. It impacts how we think about and design our infrastructure as a city. We already talked about traffic and things like that. How are we designing multimodal transportation so that our youngest folks can walk to and from school safely? It affects things like how we design and integrate young people into actual councils and things like that on the city. And that's been a long time initiative that we've upheld as part of our city, is making sure that there's a place for young people to have a voice and speak to us directly. So we have a council of 7 youth advisors currently. We just kicked off an initiative with Kid Mayor, where we engage fourth graders in the whole election process. So making sure that we're working directly with the schools to do that program. But it also, Councilman Weddle mentioned earlier, our neighborhood initiative. So making sure that we're doing outreach with our neighborhoods and building good relationships there. And then, of course, we are one of the few municipalities that I'm aware of that actually does a joint session with the city council and the school board. And I think that's really important, beyond the regular conversations that I have with administrators, that formal process of making sure the community also hears and sees that we are working together to make sure Goshen is a great place for families.
All right, last question. We'll start with Gina. What alternatives to uniformed police action would you suggest in handling 911 calls routed to law enforcement that are not associated with criminal behavior?
The city is launching a number of initiatives to do that to accomplish that specific goal. One of those, we've established the 988 number. We've also made a recent investment using Recovery Act money to work in partnership with Oaklawn to develop a crisis intervention center where people who are having a mental health crisis or a behavioral crisis can go and not overwhelm our healthcare system, but have a safe place where they can go for a short term. But there are numerous ways we want to continue to build those relationships and strengthen our ability to respond to people who are having a mental health crisis or a drug or alcohol related crisis, and make sure that that's a component of what we are providing as part of our police service. Integrated policing is something that's very important, and involves the education system, the healthcare system, social workers, and as well as the judicial system. So there's no simple, streamlined approach to policing, but we have to make sure that we're taking a holistic approach and serving our communities, building relationships, working in partnerships with our not-for-profits to make sure that we can provide the care and support that our community really needs.
All right, thank you. And Benjamin, do you want the question repeated?
Yes, please.
All right. What alternatives to uniformed police action would you suggest in handling 911 calls routed to law enforcement that are not associated with criminal behavior?
Mhm. Well, I think it's a broader issue. One of the things that we have to remember is that when someone calls 911 for an emergency, something that initially may not seem to be a violent situation may turn into a violent situation. When we send a law enforcement officer to someone's house, to someone's residence, to someone's business, they have to be prepared for a multiple of different actions. Most of the time, that will simply be a conversation, but sometimes, unfortunately, that does escalate to use of force. I would just caution and say we need to be very careful that we don't put our mental health officials in a situation that puts them in danger. We don't want to send them into a dangerous situation that they're not necessarily prepared for. So I would agree that yes, I'm a big proponent and a big advocate for alternatives to punitive law enforcement. I think some great examples of that include the Center for Community Justice over in Elkhart, include the new Oaklawn facility that's a unified effort between both the county and various cities and municipalities in our county. I know Officer Ballard with the Goshen Police Department is a tremendous asset to the police force in regards to mental health response as well. I think a lot of that comes down to training. You have to be able to make sure that your law enforcement officers have the training required to handle mental health issues, because quite honestly, not only mental health issues, but drug issues and stuff along those lines, because often we have placed our law enforcement officers in a position where they are supposed to be the first line counselors. And that is quite honestly something that we shouldn't expect them to be able to do unless they have the training and the resources provided to them by the administration.
All right, thank you. And that is the end of your question. So thank you very much. All right, up next is the 3rd District. We have Shannon Martin and Matthew Schrock. Hey, all right. So we guys get 1 minute to introduce yourselves to everyone, and we'll start with Shannon.
Okay. First of all, it's just encouraging to see all of you out there. So thank you for coming tonight to be a part of this. I'm Shannon Martin, and I do live in the 3rd District in the Chamberlain neighborhood. I am married to Corey Martin. We met a long time ago at Bethel College, and he is now the chaplain of the Elkhart County Jail. Together, we have 4 kids, 1 grown adult son out of the home. We just sent our first kiddo to college at Purdue after graduating from Goshen High School. And then we have 2 kids still in high school, so a lot going on in my house still. I am a nationally recognized best-selling author of 3 different books written on the topic of how to live together as neighbors and how we can be uplifting each other in our community. We moved to our neighborhood 12 years ago because we wanted to raise our kids in this community. And it turned out to be one of the best decisions. And I've chosen to run for that district because of that reason. Thanks.
All right.
To the League of Women Voters of Elkhart County and everybody else involved in putting this event. My name is Matt Schrock. I live at 1212 East Lincoln Avenue. I'm a proud lifelong resident of the Goshen community. I am a graduate of Goshen High School, class of 79. I built a family-owned, operated small business here in Goshen called Cycle Works of Goshen, established 1992. That's a little bit about myself. The reason I ran for the council in 2019 was to give back to a community that's given so much to my family and to give the residents and businesses in this district a strong voice in city government, a fact that still holds true for me today. Over the last few years, I've had the opportunity to meet and get to know some of the great people and business owners in the neighborhoods of Goshen's 3rd District. And I do deeply care for the neighborhoods and their residents. I hope in the coming years to continue to work with my fellow council members, the mayor, and all the city departments to promote even more positive decisions to help Goshen be a great place to live, grow for now and in the future. And thanks again for all the support and kindness these last few years from everybody. Thanks for your support, and I'd appreciate your support this November.
All right, you guys ready for questions? All right, question 1. In the face of escalating housing costs, what can the city do to ensure that our community remains inclusive and affordable for all residents, particularly for low-income residents and individuals? And we'll start with Matt.
Okay, 3rd District. Lots of empty houses, lots of rundown houses, lots of condemned homes. The potential for any type of housing, low income, affordable, high, low, is, my opinion, is immense. Because there's probably literally, over 100, maybe closer to 200 properties in those descriptions I just supplied to you guys. If there would just be some way that we could take these properties, I don't mean the word take, use these properties from the people that own them and convert these into, whether through Help a House, through La Casa, through Habitat for Humanity, and I'm sure there's probably 1 or 2 other ones that I'm not mentioning. The potential for all housing in the 3rd District is, it's huge because of all these empty lots and condemned buildings, and that's quite a loaded question for me, because that's been a priority for me for a long time, is to figure out what to do with all these properties. People are always asking me, what are you going to do? There's another house that's got the windows boarded up. I know. But if we can figure out a way to either strengthen the regulations and the ordinances for some of the property owners that these same homes sit on, that, yeah, the potential is just huge if we can just figure out some way to either get these properties cheap so we can give them to somebody so they can build, or renovate the property that's already there.
All right, Shan, would you like the question again? Sure.
All right. In the face of escalating housing costs, what can the city do to ensure that our community remains inclusive and affordable for all residents, particularly for low-income residents and individuals?
So I am going to agree with Matt on this. I think in District 3, it is widely known and very obvious that we are flooded with abandoned and uninhabitable properties. I can speak a bit firsthand on that. My family happens to live in a home that was built by La Casa as part of a neighborhood revitalization program, where they did come in and they were able to remove some of those abandoned homes. My stretch of the block used to be a long string of abandoned homes, and now they have been replaced with new construction and are family-owned homes who, supporting a variety of incomes. So I'm very curious about that, the large number of abandoned, uninhabitable homes. I am curious with how we might strengthen the ordinances that are in place and implement them better towards particularly landlord-owned rental properties, of which there are so many. I think a huge advantage of my district, District 3, and one of the things we love most about it is that it has diversity of absolutely every variety. Socioeconomic status is one of those means of diversity, and I've seen firsthand how it benefits everybody to be living in close connection with people who are different in some way. I think most of us tend to group ourselves towards people we think of or perceive as more similar to us. And so it advantages the entire city, the entire community, if we can continue to find ways to increase the number of safe, affordable, habitable houses that will support a variety of incomes.
All right, thank you. And then the second question, starting with Shannon. Goshen has a diverse population. How do you serve that diversity so everyone feels welcome? How would you support and encourage this?
Yeah, so I touched on this in my last question. I I have an eye on, what we are doing within the city, who we are spending our time with. We have this wonderful and complex and beautiful diversity, but I see most of us spending most of our lives with people, again, who are similar or who we perceive as similar to us in some way. I happen to be a white parent of 4 non-white kids, and so that is something that is the top of mind for me. It was extremely important to raise my kids in a community that was diverse, in a community that is good at welcoming each other across differences. That was a top priority for us, and we have seen the good fruit of doing that. So I see so many ways where our community is already very good at that, and I just think we need more opportunities to work together, to live our everyday lives together, to play together, to bring people together across those differences. I think there's a variety of ways that we can do that. I think, one of the things we've talked about tonight and several of the other questions is our great parks department. We've got wonderful parks scattered across the city. Finding ways to ignite events around those actual green spaces and park places where we can bring the community together, because I can say firsthand, and this is something I care about, I write about this, when we know each other by face and by name, when we live in places where we know the people closest to us, we know them, we know they have our backs, they know we have their backs. That is the good life. I think that's how we all actually want to be living, and I think there really is a way for us to get there in Goshen.
All right, thank you. Matt, would you like the question repeated?
Please.
Goshen has a diverse population. How do we serve that diversity so everyone feels welcome? How would you support and encourage this?
Well, back, I believe it was the first year that I was in the city council. I don't remember why I made this comment, but I remember making a statement, probably, like I said, I don't remember why, but it still holds true today. I made a reference to how hard Goshen as a whole is consistently pushing and pushing for equal treatment for all of our residents. Cities like ours have to treat each resident equally. That's just part of it. And not all communities have this good reputation, but I think we had it back then and we still have it today. I've lived here my whole life. I've seen a lot of things change. I've heard rumors of some bad things that supposedly happened that I don't remember happening. But Goshen, like I said, all I've been able, I sit back and I pay attention since I've been on the council, by the way, and I paid attention before that, but more than on the council, how much Goshen really does try to make everybody equal. Everybody's on the same playing field. Nobody gets, I'm glad I live in this city and I'm glad I live in a city who treats everybody that way. Yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you. And then the third and final question, we'll start with Matt. Who would you partner with in the community to address problems like homelessness?
Okay. Mindy Moorhead, she is the person in charge of the First Light mission. And that takes place in the old Riverdale School on the west side of, well, northwest side of town. She has done wonderful things at that location and at the Interfaith Hospitality Network location that they had prior to that. She's doing wonderful things, and everybody, not everybody, but several other council people have mentioned Officer Jim Ballard. He's one of our special Goshen Police Department officers. He is a huge asset to the city in dealing with homelessness, mental illness, even mental illness or people having to deal with tragic fatalities in the police department. Jim Ballard handles that as well. I myself, where my property is, I live right beside Abshire Park. And over the years, I have had experience, not face-to-face experiences, but dealt with people that are homeless. They don't have a house. When they go by the house and they have all their personal belongings and they go back into the woods behind Abshire Park and that's where they stay. And I feel for these people because I see them walk past my shop. I see them walk past my house because I live in the same area that my shop is. And I know I have spoken to Jim Ballard personally on how he handles these things. And I know we have resources at Elkhart, but I've been told he'll take them to Fort Wayne. He'll take them to South Bend. He's even taken them, I believe, to Indianapolis. And that's all the time I have. Thank you.
All right, Shannon, do you want the question repeated?
I don't think I need it.
Okay.
Again, thank you. I appreciate this question. The issue of our, I don't even want to call it an issue, honestly. Our unhoused neighbors are a population that's very near and dear to my heart. I failed to mention, I had it on my notes, and I failed to mention that alongside working as an author, I also work on staff at The Window right here downtown, which is a nonprofit dedicated to feeding and offering services to the community. So I get to cook lunch a couple times a week for anybody who wants to come and eat with us. And that means that a lot of times we do end up feeding and eating with our unhoused neighbors. I think when we talk about an issue as complex and complicated as this, the most important thing we can be aware of is how we are seeing people and how we are speaking about people, keeping everybody's dignity at the top of the list. And so I can tell you, most of the unhoused people, the more visible ones, maybe at least in this community, I know them by name and they know me by name, and that changes things for me. So we've talked about this idea of, what does unity look like? I think unity looks like valuing each other as fully human and as precious people. I think in addition to working with First Light Mission and Mindy Moorhead, they're doing wonderful work. I would find a way to reconnect and re-engage again with our vast number of churches and faith houses. I think that's an untapped resource. We've got a lot of large buildings that are sitting mostly empty for most of the week. And I would start there. I would also just encourage anyone who cares about this to come and join us for lunch anytime, Monday through Friday at 11:30. Thanks.
All right, thank you. And that will be it for the 3rd District. So thank you. All right, 4th District, you're up. That's Megan Eichhorn and Kellum Vanoski. And I hope I said that right. All right, each of you get 1 minute to introduce yourselves to everyone, and we'll start with Megan.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. My name is Megan Peel Eichhorn, and I'm honored to be serving as your District 4 City Council person. I am also the proud mother of 2 remarkable daughters, Zoe, who's a senior at Butler University, and Libby, who's a freshman at Millikan University. And they are my driving decision for why I am on the City Council. The East Lincoln Crossroads, Historic Southside, College Green, Springbrook, and the other residents of District 4 and I share deep concern for our neighborhood safety as its growth as we see new housing and market manufacturing developments, the need to make Goshen more bikeable and walkable in order to combat increasing traffic congestion and collective responsibility to address climate change. I am proud to call District 4 my home because of its abundance of culture and unique lifestyles. During my time on the council, I have been dedicated to fostering connections between the other members of the council, regardless of party affiliation.
All right, thank you. And
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for coming tonight. So my name is Kellum Vanoski. I am a candidate for District 4 City Council. I'm a lifelong resident here of Goshen, Indiana. I attended Riverdale Elementary School, then West Goshen, Goshen Middle School, Goshen High School, and then I did attend Grace College down in Winona Lake, and then I came back where now I work at Goshen College as a senior admissions counselor, where I also, aside from just domestic students, also working with our international student population. So the diversity of the city of Goshen is something that really appeals to me, and that is something that I want to help see grow. And 2 of my life mottos are live to serve, love to serve, which I got out of Circle K International, which is the college chapter of Kiwanis. And then also in the community for the community, which is one of our missions there at Grace Community Church, where I attend.
all right, thank you. Well, we'll start with Kellum for the first question. As traffic congestion continues to impact our community's quality of life, what transportation solutions do you propose to alleviate this issue?
Yeah, excellent question. So I live, in District 4. I use the Pumpkin Vine quite often, whether that be to walk or ride my bike, or run. That's a great way to get around the city of Goshen. Having different bike paths all across the city, that would be a big help. And that is one thing that I would want to see, just as we are having more traffic issues. But then encouraging public transportation, and then also, walking and riding bikes to school.
All right, thank you. Would you like the question repeated?
Sure.
All right. As traffic congestion continues to impact our community's quality of life, what transportation solutions do you propose to alleviate this issue?
Well, as I've heard a lot of people talk about this and answer this question, I have a unique perspective as I work for Goshen Community Schools, and I know that a big part of our traffic congestion is resulting from the morning commute to school. And I know that a lot of parents still continue to take their kids to school. And so we heard earlier that there's a big problem over at the intermediate school. And I agree, there is. The model has been addressed a little bit with the changes that they made with their routes into the school. But if parents would utilize our bus systems more for their students going into the buildings in the morning and in the afternoon, a lot of that problem would get alleviated during those times of the day. I would also like to revisit some of the bike paths. The one that was going down Lincoln, it was started. We had it for a while, and there were some problems with it. I think that we could revisit that idea, and I know that there's a lot of people who would love to see that come back. I would also keep working with Pumpkin Vine, making sure that our trails are connecting everywhere. Cherry Creek is also going to connect with the downtown area with the one that's going out by Waterford, and just making sure we can get anywhere walking, riding. I also like to live and work close, so I currently work a half mile from school, and it's great to be able to get back and forth, not have to travel too much, and I think that's a good.
All
I
right.
don't have anything else.
Well, this kind of piggybacks on your last answer then. So what are some suggestions to improve public access to parks and nature resources? And we'll start with you.
Well, I think continuing our trails and making sure that they connect all of them. I also think that our schools park playgrounds are also a great opportunity for public access to a park. Some people don't consider our schools as a public park, but they are. And making sure that we work with the schools to make sure that parents do have access to that. We can also just publicize them more, get more people out there. And I think the access is there. It's just the knowledge of where they're at and what we can get. I love the ideas of more splash pads. I know that when my kids were little, that was the one thing like they like to do. And I know that we have a great opportunity right now to improve our pool. And we're starting or will be starting renovation on that. And it's going to be more accessible because they're going to change the layout of it and allow more people to be involved actively in the pool and have a lot more amenities inside the pool area.
All right, Kellen, would you like the question repeated? All right. What are some suggestions to improve public access to parks and nature resources?
Yeah. So growing up in the Goshen community school system, really having events at different parks that really helped me as an individual, as a resident of the city of Goshen, know where these parks are and what is available. So for a lot of cross country meets, we would go to Oxbow Park. A lot of the local cross country meets would also be at Shanklin Park. Events like Arts on the Mill Race happening right there on the Mill Race. So getting to know a little bit about our parks, how the public can access them, and I think really publicizing those sorts of events as like a gateway into these parks are available for you as residents, as a community, as who we are, and those visiting our community. Thank you.
All right, and we'll start with Kellum for the last question. Growth has both opportunities and challenges. If elected or re-elected to the city council, address the opportunities and challenges of Goshen's growth.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Goshen's growth comes back to housing. Where is there affordable housing? Can the city of Goshen house all of these people who are wanting to move here for a vibrant arts community that Goshen is known to have? Um, and like, yeah, where are those resources going to come from? To grow Goshen, as Goshen is a really wonderful place to be. That's why I came back to Goshen after graduation to be involved in the arts. And as I was looking for places to live, that was a big concern of mine. And so going back to the how do we keep and retain our residents, but then also how do we grow off of that? And a lot of that comes, down to housing, but then also traffic, and then schooling for, our students and residents.
All right, Megan, would you like the question reread? All right. Growth has both opportunities and challenges. If elected or reelected to the city council, address the opportunities and challenges of Goshen's growth.
The opportunities that we have, we've addressed quite a few of them already. The locations, one of them that we haven't really talked about, that's a great opportunity, is the River District, where the county will be eventually vacating those properties. And we can grow that area with retail and commercial and housing. And we can connect the west side of the downtown to the east side of the downtown. As I hear about us and our need for growth, because of all the people that come into Goshen, about 30,000 a day to work, and a lot of them want to live here, which is great. We have to do that wisely and slowly so that we don't overwhelm our resources, particularly the police department. We've been talking a lot about that lately and how we're already quite understaffed. And we have to also keep up with their wages so that they don't leave us. We're fighting an increase in salaries with other areas and other cities in the area that want to pay more and can pay more, and we can't obviously pay as many as some. And so we talk about 1,400 units in single-family homes down in Cherry Creek, and we have to make sure that we have a police department that can serve those residents. And so we also have to make sure that our traffic doesn't get overwhelming. So we talk about the need for making things bikeable and walkable and connected by trails. So growth is an opportunity, and we have all of these challenges that we have to make sure we're keeping in the forefront of our minds. The biggest one for me too is also sustainability and making sure that we're doing things with the environment in mind. And I know that's a big deal for my kids and for the future of Goshen itself.
All right, thank you. And that should wrap it up then for the 4th District. Thank you. All right, 5th District is up. Phil Letterock and Colin Yoder. All right, you all have 1 minute to introduce yourselves to everyone. So we'll start with Phil.
Thank you very much. It's good to come to the end, I suppose. I talk a little bit about my personal life. My wife of 44 years is sitting back here. We raised a family of 9 children right here in Goshen on the south side in District 5. As a little side note, one of our first dates was right over there watching Star Wars. I think that was in 1977, which dates me in a lot of ways. So we have 9 kids. 3 of them came to us sort of the natural way. 6 others came to us through adoption. 1 from China, 2 from Taiwan, 2 from the Marshall Islands, and 1 out of the foster system. And they've impacted a lot of who I am and what I believe. Professionally, I was a 41-year career educator, 20 plus years as an English teacher in the classroom, became a building level and the district level administrator where I supervised literally hundreds of people and multi-million-dollar budgets. And those are the 2 sort of facets of my life that I think qualify me for this role. Thank you.
All right, thanks. And then Colin.
Yeah, thank you very much. Colin Yoder. I was born and raised here in Goshen, and I graduated from Bethany Christian High School, where my mother taught for 20 years. She was my science teacher 3 times, so that was fun. I then went to Bluffton University and then the Cincinnati College of Mortuary Science, and have lived in District 5 all but the first 2 years of my life. Professionally, I've worked at Yoder Culp Funeral Home for 19 years, 14 of those full-time. I'm proud to say that the Yoder Culp Funeral Home has been a staple in the community since 1955. The funeral home was founded on the principle of caring and integrity. 2 brothers who came from nothing believed they could find success in Goshen if they treated people the way they would want to be treated and strive to do what was right. and come to a solution at the end that the majority of people agree upon and that the majority of people are happy with. That takes leadership, and it takes people willing to listen attentively and allow all voices in the room to be heard. Thank you.
All right, Phil, would you like the question repeated?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay.
Leadership, it's looking at finding your why. Why? So I was 41 years in education. Why do you do that? That's a really good question, by the way. Why should you spend your time doing that? And the answer is because you can change the world by impacting the lives of individuals. And if you know your why, if you know the reason that you are doing something, then unity is important, but not the only. That sometimes you agree, and the city council, like Colin said, has done a really good job of getting along and figuring it out and sort of duking it through the hard issues and coming out united in their approach. But sometimes you need to also take a stand and say, you know, my why, the reason I'm here, indicates that I need to do some things differently. And so there are ways to disagree that are helpful, and there are ways to disagree that are combative. I am hopeful that in my experience has been that the first way is the way I approach things. So I know my reasons, I know what I want, but I'm willing to listen and compromise when necessary and unite and move forward. So the question's a trick question because the answer is yes. It needs all of those things.
All right, starting with Phil, the second question. In the face of escalating housing costs, what can the city do to ensure that our community remains inclusive and affordable for all residents, particularly the low-income residents and individuals?
We've heard the answers, I think, already to this, and I agree with, I mean, everybody's really said the same thing. I think that Cherry Creek is absolutely an interesting experiment. First time, I believe, that TIF district has been created for housing, and we should watch that closely and see how that works and if the city is able to sustain it. Because if it works, it's fabulous. And it provides a lot of different housing. This is also a very personal question because I have kids here in town that are young adults, young married, and would love to buy a house and are struggling to figure out how to do so. And so I think this is an essential question that we're dealing with. The other one that would be worth noting is the Hawks building. The Hawks building, I have a son who's living in there in one of the apartments, and it's a fabulous apartment. They partnered with La Casa, and he has this lovely apartment. It's a great place to step out from when housing becomes available. And along with the development of the Hawks building are that co-housing just to the south of it, where the city provided some of the foundational pieces and allowed these new homes to go in there that are remarkably beautiful, I think, and well designed in a beautiful setting. And so we need to continue to look for opportunities to partner with nonprofits like La Casa. We need to look to partner with developers that have a real vision like Cherry Creek. And then that in itself won't solve all the problems, but it will certainly keep moving us in the right direction.
All right, thank you. Colin, would you like the question repeated?
Sure.
Okay. In the face of escalating housing costs, what can the city do to ensure that our community remains inclusive and affordable for all residents, particularly for low-income residents and individuals?
Yeah, you know, Phil, we got shortchanged a little bit because everybody mentioned Cherry Creek, and here it's going on in our district. So
District 5's got it going on.
I think that's a very exciting program, and we've heard people say the creation of next level housing will help with the situation with more affordable housing. But I think one of the things that I'd like to point out is one of the first city council meetings that I went to, the initiative for the partnership between Oak Lawn and La Casa was brought forward. And I think this was a great idea, and I think the city council did a great job in recognizing the opportunity that was there to do something like that. The ability to start some housing there that lower income people can move into was a great idea, and I'm proud of the city for doing something like that.
All right. And would you like the question repeated? I know. We're
Just
at the
one.
last one, aren't we? Thank you. We're done. No. All right. We do have do we have time for questions from a couple of mayoral questions? Are we good?
They only had 2 questions.
Oh, you only got 2? I'm sorry. It's a late night and I'm not really your, am I? Okay. Last one. Goshen has a diverse population. How do we serve that diversity so everyone feels welcome? How would you support and encourage this?
Yeah.
And we'll start with.
I think it's my turn. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate you asking that question. Diversity is fortunately is something that I get to experience almost daily. Through the work I do, I have the unique opportunity to see and experience Goshen's diversity. And when I say diversity, that can mean so many different things. But when you think about the different communities that exist in Goshen, and I'll just list off a few here, the people that I get to work with, we can talk about the Mennonite community, we can talk about the Catholic community, we can talk about the Buddhist, the Hindu community, the Orthodox Russians, the Orthodox Ukrainians, the Protestant Russians, and the Protestant Ukrainians, and the rich diversity of Hispanic cultures. And the list goes on. Like I said, I'm fortunate I get to celebrate in a way in this ceremony of all these different cultures. And I think that's what makes Goshen so unique and such a great place to live and to raise a family. I am proud of the diversity that exists in Goshen, and I think we need to do a good job at celebrating that. And so, um, you know, we continue to be neighbors to each other. We continue to celebrate what it is that makes us different. And then we can take those differences and realize that they can actually unite us. And we can all realize that together we are Goshen. And that's a special thing. Thank you.
All right, Phil, you're up.
Colin, that's absolutely well said. I would take it down to a personal level to my family. So in my family, our family, we have 6 kids who were adopted. That means we have 5 immigrant children from China, Taiwan, and the Marshall Islands. We have 3 children who are Black. We have 2 children who are deaf. We have many of the children who have extraordinary abilities, but we have a few that have intellectual challenges and will need support all of their lives. We have a gay son. We have straight kids. In essence, we have Goshen as a microcosm in our family. And we see that not as unusual. We see that as who we are. And I agree completely with Colin and say this kind of diversity strengthens not just our family, it strengthens our community, and it makes us better people when we celebrate these differences that are here in town and here in our families. So again, Colin, well said, and I agree with you completely.
All right, thank you. Okay, that truly ends it this time. Yay, thank you. We did have several questions offered by the community here. I'm just going to pick out a couple for the mayoral candidates, if we can just have them back up. So Gina and Ben. All right. There is concern about the continuing decay of some properties in Goshen. What can be done to correct this? And we'll start with Gina.
Well, both Matt and Shannon mentioned decay specifically in their neighborhoods, but it's certainly a concern for any community when you have blighted properties. That leads to all kinds of criminal activity, and blight breeds blight. So the more that we fail to address that adequately, the likelier it will become that that spreads throughout our community. So there's certainly things that we need to do to work with landlords and work with neighborhoods to incentivize cooperation. But there are times when, and this has certainly been the history in the city, we have no other recourse but to pursue action through the courts. And it's something that I believe is very important that we do pursue to make sure that our neighborhoods are safe, clean, and welcoming to all people.
All right, thank you. Ben, would you like the question reread?
Yes, please.
Okay. There is concern about the continuing decay of some properties in Goshen. What can be done to correct this?
You know, that's an issue that, quite honestly, has been at the forefront of my mind for a while now. And when I first entered the race for mayor, one of the first people I talked to, that was one of the first issues that they brought up. And when you talk to them about this issue and they talk about their neighborhoods and they talk about the blighted properties that are surrounding them, you can just sense not only, I wouldn't say an anger in their eyes, but a disappointment. And that disappointment is directed, quite honestly, at the government that they feel is there to protect them and is there to protect their communities. You know, the vast majority of landlords and the vast majority of property owners inside of the city believe in the good of the city, and they're there for the good of their community. But there are certain problem causers. Our neighbors are fed up. And even if you don't think it's in your neighborhood because you might be privileged enough that it hasn't gotten to you yet, your neighbors are dealing with this on an everyday basis. This is a public safety issue. This is a issue in regards to property values. And quite honestly, I think the solution is right in front of us. We follow up with existing code and we empower our code enforcement to actually go after these properties. Many of the people who own these problem properties know the system inside out, and they know that historically the city hasn't followed up and hammered them over and over and over again. They know they can outlast the city. The county is starting to prove that you can follow up and solve this issue, but it's going to be something that every single city, every single town, every single county in our area is going to have to work on together and build a coalition of municipalities that are willing to tackle this issue, because this is not just a Goshen issue. This is an issue that is affecting our community at large.
All right, and then this will be the last question so we can wrap everything up. Today's population of over 60 is growing. What plans do you have to expand opportunities for seniors to become a more active part of our community?
Well, that's a good question. A lot of it comes down to housing again. We need to make sure that we have housing options available for those both entering the workforce and exiting the workforce. And I like the idea of more integrated communities, integrated developments, where you have apartments, where you have condos, where you have single family homes all in the same community, where they're not segregated away from each other. That's how you maintain and keep a community going. There's a number of amazing developments throughout the county that are going in that direction, and we need to be welcoming to that in our community if we're lucky enough to get developers who want to enter the city limits with those. At the same time, we have a great park system, we have a great bike trail system, we have a great walking system. We need to make sure that not just, we talk about bike paths a lot, and that's very important, but at the same time, we need to remember the fundamentals, the sidewalks. We need to make sure that the walkability of our neighborhoods is maintained. You know, walking through a lot of these neighborhoods while I'm going campaigning, the sidewalk systems are basically gone. And that's not safe for children, that's not safe for seniors, and it doesn't invite a community that interacts with each other. So there's a lot of things on a fundamental level that we can do. We can also need to make sure that customer service throughout our city administration is maintained at the highest level to ensure that when people have problems, especially those that may have trouble with technology, they can reach out. They know they're going to get the help they need in a friendly and quick manner. So there's a lot of things that we can do internally, and a lot of that is simply empowering the community at large as well.
All right, Gina, did you want the question again?
Sure.
All right. Today's population of over 60 is growing. What plans do you have to expand opportunities for seniors to become a more active part of our community?
There are lots of ways that we're working at engaging all generations of our community. And you mentioned a number of really important components of the actual infrastructure that we need to be mindful of. So of course, thinking about sidewalks and roads and things like that, planning is also an integral component in how we think about where and how we are designing growth for our communities is so important. We've done some listening tours recently with the community, and what we are hearing over and over again is that people would prefer infill as opposed to outward growth, so that as people age, they can age in place, they can walk, they can access stores and the places that they like to visit for entertainment at any age. So whether it's kids through retirement age. So that's also significantly important. Through the work that I've done over the last almost 20 years, it's getting to be a long time in developing events and activities downtown, we've tried to be mindful at every step of the way that we're inclusive of all ages. So making sure that we're not only extending invitations to people, to our elders, but also finding ways for them to integrate and participate fully in any of the events and activities that we do.
All right, thank you. All right, well, that should wrap it up for us. I appreciate everyone coming out. Let's have a round of applause for everyone staying here. Thank you. All right, there is some literature out in the foyer about voting. Help yourself. Thank you so much.
Well done, Sheila. Except for that last one.
I know, right? I was just like,
Thank you. You almost got it.
I was like trying to get done, man. I was like ready to go. But I wasn't going to cut you short. I'm glad that Brett was over here.
Hey, I let
Well, that concludes this activity today. Thank you once again to the Goshen News and also the League of Women Voters. This was an amazing event. Please don't forget to share our video, click the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us here on Facebook. Again, we are the Goshen Chronicles. My name is Magdiel Santiago, and today the Goshen Theater was the venue where this event took place. Once again, have a good evening. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you had to stand the whole time. So I don't blame you. Oh, that's out there. How's Ted doing? There we go.